Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow compatriots, fellow humans from across the planet, I am Nikhil Parekh. In this video, I shall be talking about my book titled Hide and Seek Part 6, rhyming and non-rhyming poems, as well as giving you a recitation of different poems from this book of mine. So friends, let me commence with an introduction to this book of mine about the poetry book. This book, which has 50 differently titled poems, is actually part 6 of the book titled Hide and Seek, rhyming and non-rhyming poems, 702 pages. Parekh's earliest collection of verse, written in unparalleled fervor. This collection is a delectable blend of topics from love to death, probing into countless infinitesimal aspects of existence which make a significant impact to it. The beauty of this compendium lies in its magical brevity at places and in the most mundane things of life around us, brought to the fore like a magician's wand in brilliant poetic flair by Parekh. Contains poems on topics impossible for one to envisage that a poem could be written about such an inconspicuous little thing. But Parekh evolves bountiful rhyme from the word go. And coalesces vivacious color in the little tidbits of the chapter called Life to optimum effect. A must-read for all those who find color, charm and significance in even the smallest things of life and are enthused by even the most mercurial bit of paper. Stray paper loitering around. A poetic tribute to the ordinary, projecting its colorful extraordinary bit to the planet with raw panache. This book tingles every living being's imagination to fantasize beyond the ordinary. Look at all those meaningful tidbits around us, which have a complete book written in each one of them. All those joyous and unfortunate anecdotes around us, which make us blossom into the true spirit of existence, into the amazing celebration of omnipotent life. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I shall be giving you a recitation of 4 different poems from this book of mine. These differently titled poems are: There Was Nothing Born on Earth, When the Time Arrived to Sleep, Young at Heart, and Footprints. Of course, at any juncture of victorious existence, ladies and gentlemen, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the recitation of my poem titled There Was Nothing Born on Earth. There was nothing born on earth whiter than frosty white cow milk. There was nothing born on earth whiter than frosty white cow milk. There was nothing born on earth saltier than the saline sea. There was nothing born on earth redder than the intensely emollient scarlet rose. There was nothing born on earth more green than the blades of grass protruding from fresh soil. There was nothing born on earth purer than crystal spray of water cascading down the mountain. There was nothing born on earth more pungent than piquant slices of red chili. There was nothing born on earth more transparent than the human eye. There was nothing born on earth more sensitive than the throbbing heart. There was nothing born on earth more rotten than raw pig manure. More rotten than raw pig manure. There was nothing born on earth more effusive than a flurry of tears dribbling down the cheek. There was nothing born on earth more tenacious than resplendently strong beams of the moon. There was nothing born on earth more reinvigorating than a glass of natural coconut water. There was nothing born on earth more supple than the skin, more supple than the skin of an innocuous infant. There was nothing born on earth more eloquent than the mesmerizing voice of the nightingale. There was nothing born on earth more sweeter than succulent sticks, more sweeter than succulent sticks of farm sugar cane. There was nothing born on earth more handsome than the majestically swirling electric blue dolphin. There was nothing born on earth more provoking than a helpless cry. There was nothing born on earth more thorny than the king, more thorny than the king cactus extruding from silver desert mud. There was nothing born on earth more slippery than glistening sand. There was nothing born on earth more vociferous than the growl of the panther. There was nothing born on earth more dominating than the inner voice of the conscience. There was nothing born on earth more benevolent than serving mankind. There was nothing born on earth more beautiful than a person's mother. More beautiful than a person's mother. There was nothing born on earth more powerful than the Creator. There was nothing born on earth more powerful than the Creator. And there was nothing born on earth more invincible than true love. And there was nothing born on earth more invincible than true love. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled When the Time Arrived to Sleep. So here is a recitation of my poem from this book of mine. The venomous black beetle stung naked patches of innocuous skin, injecting paltry vials of its poison, was considered a deleterious hazard, had people swishing at it with entwined broomsticks. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, she took refuge in the dainty petals of crimson rose. The alligator revealed its ghastly teeth in the brilliant sunlight, decimated the animate and inanimate in its proximity, mercilessly slaughtered scores of humans, clusters of big fish. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, It took refuge in the sedately tranquil waters of the jungle stream. The multi-legged spider entangled innumerable insects with glow. The multi-legged spider entangled innumerable insects with glow, devouring the same with tumultuous relish, annihilating its prey, submerging it in its piquantly bitter juice. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, it took refuge in the compassionate leaves of the tree, silken threads of its mesmerizing web. The mystical reptile slithered stealthily through the bushes, furtively pilfering the eggs of the mother bird, raising its hood high at oblivious trespassers, striking them with its toxic fangs. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, it took refuge in the immaculate dark burrows. Of the nimble ground. The ruffled grey lizard traversed up the wall at electric speeds, capsizing its prey in a vice-like grip, crunching it viciously in its jaws. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, it took refuge in the hollow of the tree, camouflaged a little by moisture from the soil. The impeccable little infant cried unrelentingly all day, banging his tiny fists in the cradle, inundating spotless sheets of cloth with natural spray of disdainful effluent. Yet when the time arrived to sleep, it took blissful refuge, nestling within the warm arms of his mother. All of us inhabiting the earth inadvertently commit a plethora of mistakes. Sometimes not adhering to the sacrosanct norms laid by society, indignantly stamping our feet at frugal insects. Yet when the time arrives to perish from this earth and sleep, we all take refuge in the magnanimous shadow of the omniscient Creator. Yet when the time arrives to perish from this earth and sleep, we all take refuge in the magnanimous shadow of the omniscient Creator. We all take refuge in the magnanimous shadow of the omniscient Creator. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now be giving you a recitation of my poem titled Young at Heart. So here is a recitation of my poem from this book of mine. The leaves of the tree withered at the onset of autumn, rendering it as bare and a pathetic sight to witness, although the body and trunk were still alive, did scream passionately as the wind slapped and caressed them. The most majestic of reptile shed its skin. The most majestic of reptile shed its skin while undergoing a metamorphosis of seasons, partially annihilating its grandeur. Although its slithering body still traversed still traversed in circuitous routes, and its fangs were ready to strike, injecting lethal venom. The mountain sheep had their fur sheared. For weaving thermal contrivances, leaving their appearance as shabbily disgraceful. Although they still wandered in harmony on the colossal slopes, bleated in unison as dusk stealthily approached. The austere sun god shed its brightness as nightfall took over, resembling an insipid reflection of its original identity. Although it still shone brilliantly the next morning, illuminating stringently every bit of cloistered gloom. The slender iron nail lost all its gloss as monsoon showers poured incessantly from the sky, giving it a deplorable appearance. Although it still maintained the capacity of being embodied in the wall, and still had the hostility of piercing the inflated balloon. The fermented barrel of milk lay bereft of immaculate white color, resembling worthless chunks of flaccid curd. Although it still produced an extremely piquant taste, had reasonably high levels of salubrious nutrition. The flying birds sheds infinite numbers of feathers each day, looking bedraggled after being stripped of their kingly plumage. Although they still retained the power to fly, soaring high up in the air and procreating their progeny. The banana, after peeling its intricate skin, appeared as dilapidated urchin, shivering uncontrollably in the wind. Although it was sumptuous and relishing to eat, and its pulp caused ravishing sensations in the buds of taste. The biscuits of gold, after losing their shine, resembled the mundane coin, failed to captivate attention. Although they still had the same value, could fetch their owners an astronomical fortune when judiciously traded. And all the old folks traversing the streets looked a sight to profoundly sympathize, clinging tightly to their walking sticks. Although they still had the power to love, the power to overwhelmingly fantasize, as they were young and innocent at heart. Although they still had the power to love, the power to overwhelmingly fantasize, as they were young and innocent at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled Footprints from this book of mine. So here is a recitation of my poem. When the colossal dinosaur traversed through the marshy soil, there occurred a deafening roar. The entire family of jungle beasts saluted him. However, he left behind a trail of triangular footprints, bohemian and gigantic, that made onlookers uneasy by merely glimpsing the same. When the hunchbacked camel ambled languidly through the desert, I paid him flowing tributes of adulation. for unceasingly bearing the tyranny of scorching heat. However, he left behind a semicircular array of footprints which appeared pretty insipid and nonchalant. When the stray dog ran across the wet road, he was a sight to stare, with his furry coat now camouflaged in muddy water. However, he left behind a battalion of messy footprints which caused disdainful blemishes on the surface. When the handsome horse galloped across the racetrack, he looked majestic and grandiloquent. Panting with spurts of exuberant energy. However, he left behind an incongruous design of footprints, which were crudely square in shape, punctuating cavities in the hard ground. When the olive green and serrated skinned crocodile slithered through the river banks, he looked domineering and awe-inspiring. However, he left behind an armory of deadly footprints, which caused sumptuous food in the belly of innocuous trespassers to violently churn. When the protuberant bellied ducks paraded through clayey farm mud, they appeared a sight to feast on, with their yellow beaks dazzling brilliantly in the sun. However, they left behind a jugglery of diamond-shaped footprints, which perpetuated incorrigible stains in the spotless kitchen. When the black-striped panther aimlessly loitered through the tropical grass, he looked like a royal prince, embodied with the whitest of silken whisker. However, he left behind a fleet of monstrously incoherent footprints, which scrupulously led the hunter to his den. When the nefarious robber stealthily crept across the soil, he left me dumbfounded, clad in the blackest of attire, with a snake hood camouflaging his face. However, he left behind a volley of deplorable footprints, which helped the police to trace and apprehend him. And when she walked on the cold floor with bare feet, it shivered as if caressed by a celestial fairy, having just descended down from the realms of heaven. Also, the footprints that she left behind were perfectly synchronized, were the most mesmerizing that I had ever sighted on the trajectory of this earth. And when she walked on the cold floor with bare feet, it shivered. It shivered as if caressed by a celestial fairy, having just descended down from the realms of heaven. Also, the footprints that she left behind were perfectly synchronized, were the most mesmerizing that I had ever sighted on the trajectory of this earth. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, fellow humans, fellow compatriots from across the planet, it truly was a spectacular privilege for me to have given a recitation of my poetry to your exuberant jurisdiction. From the innermost realm of my soul, I wanted to express my gratitude to you for having so gloriously patronized my poetry. Of course, at any juncture of mesmerizing existence, you can purchase this book of mine victoriously from Amazon.com. Thank you for listening to me.